Hi, everyone. Yeah, Happy New Year, all that stuff. And welcome to the first CSS Breakpoint for this year. So, unfortunately, we're starting the year off on a strong note. And so, unfortunately, the guest that I was meant to have isn't able to make it. But I thought let's still do something fun. Let me use this time to kind of see if I can do something CSS related. And one thing I thought about maybe doing is kind of just like showing a bit of my own process, showing a bit of like kind of how I generally like approach CSS and how I kind of compose things and so forth. And I'm hoping that this is of value to anyone. And I'm also keen for like feedback and recommendations in terms of how I can improve my own process and so forth. So yeah, it might be a good exercise to do something like that. Given that I didn't really prepare anything else because I was assuming that kind of the guest would bring something, but yeah, so let's do that. So what I'm thinking is let me share my screen. So let's start there first and foremost. And cool. Let me just move this over to the side that I don't get like an infinite screen. And let me also just pop myself down to the corner there. All right, here we go. All right, ready to party. So generally, I don't want to spend too much time actually designing. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go on front end mentor, and let's just pick something there. So you might know about front end mentor, you might not know about it. It's pretty cool. I kind of usually give it to my students. To exercise exercises and so forth. You can check it out. They have a ton of like free challenges that you can do. But then, like there's a couple of paid ones. I have a paid account, so I'll just so I have access to all the challenges. So just give me a second and let me just, would it be nice to do something with form related? Yeah, let's just grab this one. Okay, so this mortgage repayment calculator. I think this is a paid for one. Let's see, download assets. Yes, I think. Just give me a second. Let me just quickly download it. I just don't want to log in. Oh wait. Okay, here you go. Okay. Give me a second. Let me just do this on my other monitor, and I will. Let me just pull this into Figma as well. Right. And cool. All right, here we go. So, all right, this is the first time I think this is one of the newer ones. I literally haven't seen this one before. Also, like kind of the new approach, how they structure. Previously, they just gave you like the full on file, and it was like, yeah, go wild. So, cool. So they have the entire design system broken up and everything. And what a working prototype, really. Oh, cool. Like their new stuff is really cool. The older stuff was just like, here's a design file. It says start prototype. Oh, nice. Okay. All right. Oh, this is really cool. What does this do? I guess it just focuses the stuff. Um, okay. But yeah, I'm not gonna go, oh, cool. So it's really like using all the dev mode stuff and everything. Wow, this is really neat. Okay, but yeah, I don't want to like overcomplicate it. So let's just kind of get the basics. So what I generally do is like because you don't always have the luxury of um, getting it in such a nice format. Is I generally take a screenshot and just with kind of like, let's just get started on this part. And let me just, my desktop is a mess. Let me not even open my desktop. give me a second. Okay, and let's just spin up a basic, let's HTML over here. Okay, let me just do, let's go index.html and let's just look at styles.css. And this is really cool. It uses the new CSS logo. Okay, let me just use my HTML boilerplate. So if you have VS Code, this is built into VS Code. This is, this is called Emmet. You can learn more a bit about it by just going Emmet, the syntax and whatever. But so basically, you can just start typing HTML, and there should be a snippet. And just do 5 and press tab, and it just gives you like a basic HTML5 boilerplate. Also, just as an aside, if you have any comments or questions, pop them in a text chat. I'm happy to bring them up here and yeah, kind of speak to them or answer them. But yeah, but basically, let me just zoom in a ton. And let me also just switch off Copilot, because Copilot is going to go absolutely ballistic. So let me just disable that. And let's just do a quick test. Let's do hello world, and let's see. So I have this plugin in VS Code called, I think it's like Live Server or something, which, whoops, sorry, Justin. Let me just, okay. Yeah, which just allows you to serve it over HTTP. So you can open a HTML file directly in your file system, but this does a couple of things. It gives you live reload, if I'm not mistaken. No, I don't think it gives you live reload. You still need to manually reload, if I'm not. Let's quickly check that out. So no, it gives you live reload, and it also serves it over HTTP, which is, there's a slight difference between the file protocol that you use on your device or your operating system and the HTTP protocol. So just brings it a bit closer to how it would work on the web. So I did mention, I have that, I take that screenshot. Let me just save this. Yeah, as you can see, my desktop is an absolute mess. Let's just call it a reference. So let's just say ref. And then I would just drag it in here. So just have it at hand for easy reference. So I, generally when I start, kind of, I guess in the same way that I, when I draw or I paint or whatever, you kind of start very rough, and don't get too hung up on the minute like pixel differences and stuff. Instead, you kind of like start cleaning those things up at a later point. So let's just bring this in. Let's go with that. Yes. So this just allows me to quickly toggle between it. If I have it here in my project, then I can just go, or I can even have it, like on the side here or whatever. So, okay, let's quickly see. So mortgage calculator. Yeah, but given that I have the actual Figma file, it might be worth just, obviously I have multiple screens, so I don't usually try and fit everything into such a small space, but let's see what we can do. So you can, let me bring it here, and you can press Control, is it Control forward space? No, they changed the layout. There we go. Control backspace. Not, is it backspace? Backslash. Backslash. Sorry. And then it actually hides the UI. So if you just want to, so let's just start like very rough. So I would just start with that. Okay, and let's just see. I would make that my H1, because your H1 would be like, let's say someone lands on this with a screen reader, or Google hits this or whatever. What would the title of the thing be? What would be the very first thing that we read out? And that would be mortgage calculator. All right. And then, so below that, there is, this is clearly a form. And then I would give each of these forms a label. So so there's two ways to do it. You can go input and then like do for and attach it to the ID, or you can put the input in the label to just automatically have it be associated with it. I prefer this approach just because I'm lazy. And also what's really nice is it covers the entire area. So if you do this, sometimes there might be like a little small slither that's unclickable. But here, like if you click anything here, it's going to focus the input. All right, so let's just get that. Okay, so there that is. That's there. Let's just do a div for our label, and let's just do mortgage amount. Okay, I'm going into this completely blind, so I might make a complete fool of myself, but here we are. We're doing this now. And my styles over here, in the interest of speed, I would maybe generally just like start with my styles inline. Obviously, you move them out of this eventually, but just in the interest of speed. So you obviously do box siding, border box, always on everything first step on any CSS if you're not using a reset or something. And then the other one is body margin. I'm not going to go into this too much unless there is anyone that has any specific questions related to why I do this. Pop it in the chat and I'll explain this in a bit more depth. So cool. So here we have this. So okay, there's a couple of things here. So once you start styling, there's always a question like what do you use to style things? And so your immediate approach might be to go and just use the tags. Okay, so for example, like this. So I generally don't like that. I might change my mind once, like at scope is fully supported. But for now, it kind of scares me a lot to just have it be based on actual something like you're coupling your structure and your styling too close. So let's say at some point you maybe change this to a H4 or whatever, hypothetically speaking, then you lose all the styling. So I don't like actually coupling my like styling rules to the actual structure of my HTML. I like to not have the way the actual underlying structural stuff I select depend. I don't want to make decisions in terms of structure based on what style is going to get applied. I want to be able to, if this needs to be a span, it needs to be a span. And I don't care about it should have no bearing on what style is going to be applied. So generally, like what people do is they obviously use classes. So let's just go with title. And so also like this is still small enough where I would just go like straight up. Let's just use words, But obviously, at some point, your styles or your amount of styling that you're applying get sufficiently complex, and there's enough of them that you want to start using some type of methodology or tooling. So the best way would be to use something that scopes your CSS for you automatically. So this would be like something like CSS modules or CSS in JS or any of those tooling. But I'm just going like raw HTML and CSS here, so I don't have access to that. Once again, scope might eventually become a thing and completely change the way that we write like plain CSS right now, depending when you're watching this video. Right now, as I'm recording this, obviously we can't use at scope. So I would still use something like BEM or Suit CSS or object-oriented CSS, or what's the other one? SMAX, and so forth. There's a ton of these, and you generally refer to them as CSS methodologies. The most popular one, I know this was used by Google, I think to some degree still, probably still used by a ton of other teams and so forth. And I'm not using it that much today, and that's just because I'm not working that much with raw CSS. But if you look at my actual personal website, when I do, I still use BEM. So you'll see if you look at my personal website and you do Control U, you will see like this is all still like written in BEM style. So there you go. I'm not going to go too much into depth in terms of what BEM is. Once again, unless anyone asks for that, like if you want me to go more into BEM, let me know in the text chat and I'm happy to explain it a bit more. But if you want to check it out, you can just go BEM. I think BEM.info is the canonical one. There's also another one that is, I think, like get BEM or something, BEM CSS. Getbem.com. And yeah, so cool. Okay, this is maybe not a bad one because I think this is the canonical one. That was originally, so BEM was originally developed by Yandex. And so this is, but then obviously this one, I guess, is more a community focused one. Seems to be the case. Let me start this. Okay, cool. Oh, I'm not logged in. But yeah, so here they explain it and so forth. And basically, you break things into block, element, and modifiers. So, it is a bit overkill for what I'm doing here, but I kind of just want to show how I would generally approach it. So, if we were to look at where is that design now, I would probably have. Yeah, it's hard to say without seeing the rest of it. So let's just go with these, and then when it becomes a bit cumbersome, we can kind of start breaking it out into BEM. Okay, so great question by Sam. So it seems like Tailwind and the rest of frameworks adopted BEM. So when you're using Tailwind, you don't need to use something like BEM. So these solve the same problem, but in very different ways. And so let me kind of show that. So I think even if you have a look here and then you can see the alternatives. And what Tailwind does is, so these are general approaches to writing CSS to keep your CSS organized. Because you can imagine, with enough time, like your CSS can get into thousands and thousands and thousands of lines of code and classes and selectors and whatever. So, and it's very hard to come back from a CSS file that hasn't been built with a specific methodology. A lot of times you just have to throw it away and start again from scratch. So these are the ways that you can do that. So the one that Tailwind follows is kind of an atomic approach, which is basically, okay, so this is just a tool, I guess, similar to Tailwind, but effectively you, instead of actually creating your own CSS selectors and classes and whatever, you actually have a lot of like pre-built ones that come with, and you use those. And because you don't maintain your own CSS, or your own CSS classes and so forth, you can extend it to a certain amount. But when you're using something like BEM, you very rarely kind of do this type of thing where you're like, okay, this is a card and the color and so forth and so forth. And to the degree that you do it, you do extend BEM. So BEM solves this problem by actually just having you express what you want in your actual classes. I have some slides on this, and I might quickly cover this. Just in summary, the different approaches. So I think it's the talk. Yeah, like I did a talk on CSS layers at some point. It's all right. Okay, but so it's a bit of a different methodology. I can maybe do a talk on kind of ways to scope CSS, or do a session on ways to scope CSS and the different ways that you can do it, like BEM and kind of an atomic approach like Tailwind, or CSS and JS and all those things. But for now, let's just go with this. I'll just use basic. So generally, let's go and start with let's start with some BEM. So basically, this is going to be super overkill because generally you would only start really creating BEM blocks when you are scaling stuff. But let's try and I would never do this in practice because like in actual real world, because I'm not going to try and scale it when it's this small of a project. But let's do that. So let's say we have this recurring thing that is called a field, and a field has a label, it has a actual input, and then maybe stuff like prefixes, suffixes, and so forth. So let's quickly do that. Okay, so this mortgage amount, this would be a field. So in BEM, we would go, field, and I think then it's underscore, underscore, and then the actual, this is also maybe a good time to also show how style properties work as well now, which is a new thing, which plays really cool with something like BEM. But okay, so let's just say we have a field, and a field doesn't have any specific styles applied to it right now. And then we obviously have a field label, and then we have a field input. Okay. And so let's create one of these here. So, and this is where it actually becomes important to separate your styling from your actual structure, because this is a label, okay, from a structural point of view. But stylistically, it's not the label. This is the label. And in the same way that you might have something that is styled to show this principle, you might have something called button. Let's just go background red and color white, the most beautiful button ever. And let's say you have button and you apply the class button over here, and you just say click me. All right. So it should, I need to save it. Cool, there we go. There's our beautiful button. But let's say you want to change this, because there are semantic reasons why you would want to, for example, why you might want to use a link or a button. So let's say you actually change this to a link, but you still you don't want it to change the styling. It's just semantically, for semantic purposes. You want to still keep the same styles. So you don't want to couple it to an actual specific element. So, and for that reason, this is also important. So the field would actually be, this would actually be the field, and then this would be the label. So field underscore underscore label, and then this would be the input. Okay. And field underscore underscore input. Okay. And so now let's actually have a couple of them below one another so we can just see these changes applied on a bigger scale. And let me bring this up again. All right. So let me quickly inspect that, see what that is in terms of font and all those things. So this is, I'm not going to create color. Yeah, you know what? Let's actually do it. Let's do some color variables. I'm not going to pull all of this in because I'm just going to grab a couple that seem relevant. So generally, if you're working at a bigger scale, you'd probably pull in all of this stuff. But for now, so let's do color, and let's just say blue, and color, let's do light blue, and dark blue. You might, if you're working at a bigger scale, you might have an entire color, what would be the word, system, modular system, where you have different 100, 200, 300 and whatever. But it's definitely way overkill for what we're doing here right now. And it's probably going to take me an hour just to set that up and figure all of that out. So okay, let me just drag this here. It's hard working at this scale. Let me just detach that and grab that. Yes, okay, this is fine. So this is dark blue. And then let's get this is, okay, light blue. Let's just grab the green as well. All right, and where is that green? And I assume this is the same as, oh no, this is much darker. Okay, so we have three. We have like a medium blue and a dark blue and a light. Yeah, let's just use that. Okay, let's get that green quickly. Whoops. And that is, okay. All right, so, and let's also just get some basic. So one thing that I like to do is, not a lot of people actually know about the font shorthand. So you can obviously do font family, and then you can do font size, and so forth and so forth. But there's actually a shorthand where you can just get lots of different font related stuff. So let me just say font shorthand CSS, and I actually like to have all of that in a single variable. So let's just get an example here. Ultra Cross italic, sure. Sans serif. Okay, so the fallback, the size. Although, like, I guess we're just going to be using the same font across the board. So let's actually see what that is. So that would be, well, what are they using here? Jakarta. Yo. Okay. Google font. Oh, okay. This is literally the first time I'm ever encountering this. I haven't used this one before. Okay, so get font. All right, so there's a couple of things here. And I can actually now start moving my CSS. Let me first do this. So, okay, there's a couple of things here. And I might even just like separate these with, field and so forth for my actual BEM blocks. Okay, so label, and we probably need to apply that to the body. So there's a couple of things here. So there's two ways to import Google Fonts. And let me just remove all of this and let's go back to this. Okay, let's say get font and get embed code. Yeah, like I can probably streamline this a bit, but let's just go with this for now. Get embed code. So where do I get there? Oh, they changed this quite a bit. Oh, web. Okay, so there's two ways. The one is via CSS and the one is via HTML. I would say if you have the option to do it via HTML, it's always preferable to do it via HTML and not via CSS. Because the thing is, if you do it via CSS, that means your CSS file is render blocking the actual font files. So that means that your HTML loads for your page, and then, ooh, what is that? What's going on here? I only saw this now for the first time. Sorry. Like I have something. I have this like a bit of my cup is actually showing. Was showing on the video. Sorry. Sorry for. I should have put it lower or moved it away. So if you put it in your CSS, you would have your HTML file, and then the HTML file would load the CSS file from the server. So it's loading, it resolves it, then it starts parsing the CSS file, then it would hit this, and then it would get those font files. So then it would go to the server or where else, get that and load. If you put it in your HTML, it can immediately start loading it even before it has started looking at your CSS file. So this is always preferable if you can do this. And we can, so let's just put it up here. And we did move our stuff now. Okay, and so let's just do also link. Is it link? What is it called? I can't even remember. Is it link? Link CSS? Or is it rel? Oh, I can't. Let me. Oh, like let this show you how much of my career I actually spent manually linking CSS into HTML. Let's say include CSS file. I think it's link. But why is my emmet not working properly? This is embarrassing, but such is life. Yeah, I was right, but previously I could go, oh, I shouldn't start with the opening tag. If I just type, there we go, link, and then this is what I usually do. Okay, and so that would just be styles. Okay. Right, cool. And there it applies it. So here is our font. And let's look at this part down here. And yeah. No, let's not configure it at that low of a level now. We can just grab this part. So if we go styles, we can just throw it in here. Now everything's automatically going to be that. All right. Okay. So let's bring up our Figma again. All right. And make it small. Let's just get the sizes of these things. So this one is 16. Don't care too much about the line height because it never splits a line. And so it's just 16 and medium. Okay. So we can start styling our label. So this would be font size 1 rem, so 16 effectively. If anyone wants to know why I prefer rem over pixel, I can go into it a bit. I think the case for accessibility of using rem instead of pixel isn't that strong as it used to be. I think there's a compelling case for accessibility in some edge cases here and there, but I don't think it's as clear cut as it used to be. But I also prefer rem because I prefer working with bigger units and not getting down into the pixel level and manually moving like little pixels up and down here and there. So, okay, let's do font weight. And I think it was medium. And I think medium is usually 500, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. Okay, so there we go. And the color would also be var color. And that's the medium, dark blue, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. Why is it not picking it up? What's going on here? Color. Oh, because we made a typo over there. All right, dark blue. Cool. All right. Okay, so we're getting there with this. So let's do the part below it. So this, and I generally nowadays just, I think Justin and I had a discussion on this at some point. I think prior in my career, I would have advocated for using padding, top and bottom and left and right. But as a means to set the size of a thing. But I think reflows have gotten so much more of an actual thing nowadays, like the penalty of reflows. And also because nowadays, generally, like additional data gets loaded after the actual HTML is parsed and shown. Meaning that there might be a case where it shows a skeleton and only then populates the data. So I generally kind of changed my approach in terms of that. I generally don't have the content. There are exceptions, but across the board, generally, I don't have the content define the the size that something takes up that much anymore. Instead, I set the size and then arrange the content accordingly inside. So let's have a look. So this is around 480 height. So we can just go here and no man, what am I saying? 480, 48 height, and I just have a, so that's 3 rems. I have a plugin that just automatically converts it for me. Okay, and then what is the border radius on this? It's around 4, and it has the medium. I would assume it's the medium border on it, so PX solid. But I still do borders and other things as pixels, and not rem, because rem are usually things that should scale according to the font size increasing or decreasing. The size of a border shouldn't be affected by the font size increasing or decreasing. 1 pixel border should be 1 pixel border. Okay, so let's bring up my, let me just clean this up a bit. Where's my, okay, cool. So we're getting there. Why is this so, oh, because I've zoomed in a lot. Okay. And then what was the border radius on this? It was 4. Okay, so let's just do border radius 4 pixels. Okay, there we go. So we're getting there. And now let's do the text inside. Okay, there's no example of where it's filled, is there? Let's look at the prototype. Let's see, can we, what is this? Is this like a, can we just fill it in to see? Okay, there's only a placeholder here. What would it look like? I think in the prototype I saw it somewhere. Let's check it out. That would, I guess, be in the design system. Yes. Okay. So the text inside would be 18 and bold. Okay. So we can just go font size. So 18 might resolve to some. Whoops. Stop speaking. I put on my dictation mode. Yeah, that's okay. I can live with that. Sometimes when it does like stuff like this, I would just round it to something a bit nicer. That is probably, I guess, prefer to just have it like this, but yeah, I guess it depends on like how strict the designers are in terms of it needs to be this exact amount. And generally I'm the designer, so yeah. So generally, like, I just change this as I go. All right, and I think the font weight is bold. Okay. All right, there we go. And probably a bit of offset. So no padding at the top. Let's just try 0.5 rems on the side. What is that? Looks like 1 rem. I'm not mistaken. Let's see. I actually think I prefer 0.5. Yeah, no, I think it might be 0.5. I'm not sure. Okay, but then we need a bit of offset here. And what I've started doing is, instead of actually giving a margin on one of these, I would actually just have the parent be display flex and have the flex direction be column, and then just use a gap. Instead, let's just see, because this keeps it more modular as well. Let's see if we go into design. Yeah, that seems like about right. Okay, but there's some space below that. And so this is where something like BEM, where now what comes into play here is that when you think about like a separation of concerns, I wouldn't say it's the concern of a field to determine how much space is between it and the thing below it or above it. So then I would create a new thing and I would just call this, like the actual form itself. Maybe even use another word because form and field look kind of similar. So visually, I just find it nice if these things visually look very different. So let's just call this like content. Well, let's call this layout. Okay. And so then we have our layout. And it would be the job of the layout to actually control where these things are placed. All right. So but for now, and I would probably do a grid, but let's just for now just do a display flex and just flex direction down as well, column, and let's just do the gap there between these. Let's just class layout. All right, it's probably a bit more. I think it's like 2 rem or something. Okay. And so now we might want 2 of them next to one another. So we can always just say that there's this concept of a row in a layout as well. So a layout has a row, and all that the row does, I think you can just override the flex direction straight in here. I don't think you need to redeclare it. Let's quickly see. So then these 2 might be in layout underscore row. Let's see. No, you need to. Okay. Right. And we also just want a gap there as well. And I think this gap is like 1 rem or whatever. Okay. And this is also now getting a bit like going off the screen. And the reason for that, I would assume, is that I actually don't know why it's going off the screen. Let's have a look. Do these have a min? Let's see. Oh, I think I need to tell it to adhere. I think in both cases I needed to tell it to adhere to the space that is available. Otherwise it's going to... So here as well. Okay, nope. So let's see what is going on here. I didn't set a width anywhere. So there's some width coming somewhere that is... Let's see. Okay, so this one is good. Layout row. And I might be just missing something here. So gap, sure. Field input, sure. These shouldn't have a min width. All right. Okay, we can get to that in a second. So okay, so now I'm going to do something cool. So yeah, so I probably wouldn't do it in this way, but it's maybe a chance to show something cool that you can do. So let's say you have we can add the prefixes and the suffixes with attributes. So let's say data prefix. Okay, and let's just say R. Okay, so let's say it has to be prefixed with rand or whatever. Then you can go, and I'm pretty sure data attribute CSS, you can. They are changing this to make it more widely applicable to various things, but I think for now you can only use this in before and after. So let's do a field before. Okay. And then we can get attribute, site, and let's say prefix, source. Okay. Why is it not showing? Let's see. Prefix. Does it need to be, pretty sure data prefix? Yes, okay, data prefix. Cool. So now you actually, you know, you can feed stuff in from here, like a prefix, and it shows up in here, and you can actually style it. So you don't even have to create the HTML in here. So, okay, let's just do background red, just so I can move it around. And let's just say height 1 rem, width 1 rem, and we might need to see. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about, but let's do this. It's maybe a nice, but it is going to not be the way I would do this under normal circumstances, but yeah. I think it's a cool thing we can try out. So yellow, okay, there we go, and make it display block. Okay, and because we know the input's always the last thing in this field, we can say bottom 0. Oh, where did it go now? Position absolute. Oh, that. Oh, okay. The field itself then needs to be position relative. Okay, and so we know what the height is of this. I think we said it's 3 rem. Okay, so then let's also give it the same pixel solid var color dark blue or medium blue for the outline. All right, so okay, but it is expanding a bit beyond that, so we might need to bring the height. Wait a moment. Maybe just subtract 1 pixel from the height. Let me just think about this. Or what we, yeah, let's do it this way. Just to a pixel for the above and below. Cool. Right, there we go. And that also means that we can probably just do border right now. We need to, okay, make the bottom 1 pixel just to have it a little bit offset from the actual. Probably also just do overflow. Yeah, see, this is getting a bit too brittle for my taste here, but I think it's a fun exercise. Border radius, and I think that would be 0. What did we say as a radius? 4 pixels. Yeah, 4 pixels, 4 pixels. I always put these at the wrong place and then I move them around because I think it's like that. Let's see. Nope. Is it 2 in the middle? Yes, so like that. All right, and so instead of setting a width, let's use padding to figure out how much space. Yeah, see, like now I'm actually. No, it's all right. Let's stick with this, okay? I actually want to see out of interest how far we can take this. Okay, so obviously let's do a display instead of a display block, flex, and let's put it align item center and justify content center. Okay, there we go. So let's have a quick look at the design. Okay, so it's the medium, and this seems like it's like really thick. Oh, it's bold. Okay, so let's do font weight bold. All right, And it does seem like it's a bit bigger than the other stuff. Okay, but let's also just here do var dash dash color and light blue, right? And I think it's actually the color itself as well. I think that gets inherited, so we need to make that color medium blue. All right, and I do think it is a bit bigger, 18. Yeah, so it's basically actually the same as we have here. Okay. All right. Cool. Let's maybe give it just a little bit more space. So like that. Okay. Ah, here we go again. Sorry. I don't know like why my coffee cup keeps on interfering with this. So my camera doesn't. This seems just the contrast on this thing seems ridiculous. I don't know. I'm having a bad camera day, but yeah, it is. It is what it is. So cool. Okay, then we obviously just need to offset this, but we only need to see this. I don't know how I'm going to solve this. Let's have a look. So what I can do is, oh yeah, see now this becomes tricky because. Oh, wait. I think what we can do is we can go field and we can say data prefix. If there is a data prefix, then field input. Yeah, like we're creating a bit too much coupling here, but it is a nice exercise. Then we add some padding to the left side to offset it. And where would that be? How much would that be? Let's go with like 2.5, which is I think the size we made it. Okay, let's go with a bit more. Let's go 3. Hey, look at that. Okay. And now we might also want to move the focus to the so what we might want to do is instead of using a solid background color, make these actually RGBA. So let's see. And I actually prefer to do that. I actually prefer to not work with absolute colors like this. So let's go. So I would use this probably as my reference. And then I would go 20, 50. I would just also round it a bit. Once again, it depends if you're the designer or how hung up the designer is about the exact swatch. But spoiler, it's never going to be the exact color on everyone's monitors. Like even like so, I remember back when I did a lot of kind of commercial photography and stuff. You would even have a screen calibrator, calibrate color, just to ensure, and you'd have to do it every now and then, just to make sure that your it's like this little thing. Yes, I remember this. Just to ensure that your colors are as close to the real world colors as possible. Because over time, like your colors start to drift a bit, and also depending on what device you're using. So generally, I don't go as far as actually like like worrying too much about like little small differences in swatches, but you know, designers are going to design and be designers. Can I maybe derive this? I actually generally prefer to do it this way, just because that gives me a bit of more control when I do things like light mode and dark mode, treating colors as intensity instead of a full on like swatch. Let me just see, what did I miss? RGBA, RGBA, RGBA. What am I missing here? RGBA. I'll make these 1. Oh, I'm missing that. So let's go like 0.5. And then I would actually just adjust this one. So I do see I'm losing a bit of hue as I'm going down. So I would actually adjust this one and make it more vibrant so that you don't lose as much when you go down to variations of it. Still no luck. Yeah, and I might also have subtle differences here. So I might want to just push the blue a bit more over here. But I would still treat the differences in light and dark as actual amounts of intensity. So let's go all in. Let's make this 200. Yeah, that's too intense. Let's go 150. Let's try 2. Okay. And how far off are we? Okay, that one does seem to have a bit more yellow in it. Yeah, I know we are quite far off. So let's make this 100. Let's bring up red, green, and blue, meaning that we need to bring up both of these a bit. Okay, this probably isn't the most riveting watching me change. But so let's just go with that. That's close enough. But what's nice now is like that shines through because we're just using this as kind of what you would call a lens in design. It's just a bit of an opacity that's applied, and it's not the. And so what's cool about this is that when you flip it around, let me actually show this. This approach works really nicely if you do dark mode and light mode and that stuff, because once again you're treating colors as an intensity. You're not treating them as a lightness or a darkness. It's like, okay, this is very intense, like 1. This one is half as intense, and this one is like very subtle. So because what you can do then is you can literally just, let's say in dark mode, you just reverse these. So let's say I'm just going to override them, because let me just call this background and it's just white for now. I'm just going to override them because I don't want to go and switch my operating system dark mode, light mode now. But so let's just go body background, and we just have a background that we swap out. Var background. Yes, okay, white. Okay, and so let's just, so first and foremost, let's switch up our background, and let's just make it black for now. Let's go something like not full on black. Let's go like that. Well, you know what? Let's go full on black. Okay, so then if you treat these as intensity, you can actually just now swap them, or let's say you make them white now, then it's actually just an intensity of that whiteness. Okay. This, we need to remove the background on these though. So that would be the field input. Background none. Cool. So obviously you would do a bit more tweaking, but you can probably see like how this was. Okay, this we also need to. So a lot of the stuff that I'm doing right now is actually going to get fixed by exposing the color, the native like dark mode and light mode in browsers, which is coming. So you can look at CSS. I think it's called light-dark. Yes. So this is going to make this type of thing even easier. You can check this out. I think Justin and I spoke about it at some point. But for now, I just need to manually set a lot of the stuff because it doesn't have those primitives. Cool. So check that out. We have instant dark mode, instant light mode, because we just treat these as intensities, and we can even go. What yellow would be RGB. So I think yellow would. Is this how you get yellow? Yes. Cool. So even if you want to do this, cool. See, like that's really cool. This is something like, like it's. I'm not going to lie, it's a bit harder to reason about color as intensity instead of like, oh, this is a darker version of the color, this is a lighter version of the color. But like you get really cool stuff where you can do like this type of thing. Like on the fly. Just apply this. Or, let's say we want this to be because you're just treating color as an intensity and not a specific swatch. Okay. Might even write an article or do a different YouTube video specifically on this approach. I find a lot of value in it. Okay, but cool. So, but we've built this now. It's okay. It's not the best, but like it's really cool that I can just do a data prefix there and it automatically applies it or not. I just need to tell it to, if there's not a prefix, to not do that. So it should only, where is that? It should only do the before if there is a prefix. So check this out. Da, 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 da. And you define this just by adding a prefix there or not. Let's see if I can super quickly do a suffix one as well. It should be, at the end. So let's just say we want to add a percentage at the end. We probably need to do this and do after attribute, and this would be effects, background color, sure. And I think the only difference thanks. I actually need to head out. Like it's been an hour. But I yeah. I need to let me just see if I can quickly do this one. So we do right. Okay. Data suffix after, and I probably need to do one here as well. I think I'll upload this not to GitHub, but I'll do a gist that I'll share if anyone wants to check this out. But let's first just see if we can get this working. So data suffix. So this should. Oh, I put it on the row instead of the field. Hey, check that out. Cool. And also when it's a suffix, there's probably also way more, way better ways or like concise ways to do this or declarative ways. But I kind of even just stumbled upon this idea as I was coding this form. So let me just quickly think. So padding left, okay, padding right. Because now if you go there, it should prevent you from like flowing past that. Yeah, this is cool. I like this. Then we just need to also take into account this border. So this should be border left. And then it should just show the data suffix. It should show the percentage there. And it should just swap these around as well. Okay, yeah, cool. There we go. Let me upload this. And there's just a regular one. Let me upload this to GitHub quickly and just literally just put the link as a comment. So in here, if anyone wants to check this out. So, oops, not a new repo. So let's just say let's just say CSS input with prefixes, suffixes as data attributes. And so we have our index.html. Let's just copy it straight up in there. Okay, and add a file, and let's just say styles.css. Yeah, so I'm curious whether anyone has any ideas or anything where I could have improved or done this differently. How do I do this as a public one? Create public. Okay, let me just also comment it in the video here if anyone wants to check that out. But I will put it in the description as well. All right. Okay. Cool. So that's it. I'd be curious, despite like my camera, despite like all the camera problems, and obviously despite me not preparing too much, I would be curious whether this was useful or insightful to anyone. Obviously, it's just like a little fun thing I did because things changed a bit like last minute in terms of like planning and logistics. But and I didn't want to cancel the session. But I'd be curious whether anyone found this useful or would like some of this type of thing, but in a more maybe structured manner with more prepared stuff and so forth. And like I can even have a guest on and where we build something and we chat about what we're building and so forth. But yeah, like, so please let me know. And then otherwise I will hopefully see all of you guys at the next CSS Breakpoint or at any upcoming FETSA events. All right, everyone, take care, keep well. Bye.